Hello there and welcome back to the Chap's Guide. If we haven't met before, my name is Ash and I'm your curator here on the Chap's Guide channel. And this is a place where we come together to talk about life skills, self-development tips and any advice really which can improve your journey through life as a chap. So today I've been making some notes again. You know there's always trouble when I do that. And I've been thinking about some reasons, some top tips as to why you shouldn't be afraid to be the best dressed man in the room. So my tip number one is the most important one, and that's have the balls to be the best dressed man in the room. Have the confidence to be the best dressed man in the room. Do not be afraid to be that person who stands out from the herd. So I'll just look at my notes, don't worry if I'm looking down. Now for some people this will be a big challenge, especially when you might be used to being in an environment where other people drive down the standards. We're living in a world which is increasingly informal in its nature. A few years ago you could go into any sort of professional business place and everybody would be wearing a suit. They'd certainly be wearing a tie. Today we seem to be on a journey to the opposite, where people are wearing t-shirts and jeans for what used to be considered a professional business position. But if you are comfortable dressing up, being smart, don't be afraid to wear that collar and tie, to wear that suit, because you know you look better and you're more confident when you do that. So don't be dragged down by the standards of others. Set the standard yourself. Have the confidence to do that. Step apart from the mainstream and identify yourself as that person who should be considered for that promotion, for that new job, or whatever trustworthy opportunity that could come up. Because believe me, if you look the part, you'll be perceived the part. One little caveat that's worth being mindful of: don't usurp somebody else's special moment by being the best dressed man in the room. So the analogy would be, you know, if you're the bridesmaid, don't look better than the bride. If you're going to somebody's special party or event and they are habitually a poor dresser, don't turn up in the three-piece suit looking fantastic, because it might be that occasion where all eyes swing to you and you don't want it to happen. So just be mindful of the power of being the best dressed man in the room. So tip number two for me: set your uniform standard and stick to it. And what I mean by that, well, it's dependent upon your personal circumstances, where you live, where you work. If you live in London, you can wear whatever you like pretty much all the time, because all of the different dress standards are on display constantly. If you live in a small town, if you live in a rural location and you like wearing Savile Row inspired three-piece suits, you may stand out a little. But there's nothing wrong with that. You know, set that standard and live up to it. Use your uniform style to instill respect and confidence in people that you meet. Style is always going to be able to do that for you. So by dressing smartly and professionally, people will always perceive you in that light. Be mindful of that. And there are some little tips. You know, weaponize style. We know, for instance, that wearing blue as a colour instills trustworthiness in the people that you meet. Black is often considered a much more aggressive colour. Sombre. You know, there's a reason why people wear it at funerals. Wearing black suits is pretty much a no-go in the modern era. Wearing navy suits is far more in style, in vogue, because it instills a trustworthiness. Or if you wear a blue tie with a charcoal suit, it gives off a certain warmth. If you wear a red tie, or put red into your wardrobe, for instance, in the case of a pocket square or signature socks or something like that, red is often seen as an alpha colour. So leaders often have red. It implies dominance. You'll often see American President Donald Trump habitually wears a red tie. It's the little flash of colour that he always wears. No political comments, but I'm just saying that's the way he dresses. He weaponizes style to his best effect. And you can do the same by putting some thought into your ensemble. So think about the colours that you're mixing together and how they'll be perceived in part of your uniform style. Tip number 3 for me is dress for the life that you want, not necessarily the life that you have. So if you are a customer service assistant in a large shop, there may not be much expectation for you to dress smartly. However, if you have the opportunity and you like doing so, if you wear a suit and you look smart, before you know it, you'll end up getting promoted to the supervisor role, the manager role, the area manager role, because people will look at you and they will see somebody who can take care of the details and looks the part. And let's be fair, looking the part is half of the battle in many cases. So dress for that next promotion. Don't dress for the position you're in today, dress for the position that you want tomorrow. My tip number 4, make dressing well one of your good habits of life. And that's easily achieved. Things like laying out your clothes the night before, thinking about the ensemble that you intend to wear the next day. That means that when you get up in the morning and you're probably not as fresh as you could be in the mind, you don't have to go worrying about what colour tie you're going to wear with the suit and the shirt. Think about it the night before, lay it all out. It just makes the experience of getting dressed much easier for you and easier to achieve every day. It takes no time and it's a lot easier to do. You know, do things like ironing your shirts in advance so that you've got a choice to choose from. You don't have to just go for that single shirt which is ironed, even though it might not be the best fit for the other clothes that you're going to wear. Always prepare in advance. So I've talked about picking your clothes in advance, but it goes to all of your clothing, your footwear. When you've worn a pair of shoes or boots, you know, make sure they're ready for the next time you put them on. Polish them, condition them, clean them, so that the next day or the day after that, when you think, damn, I need to wear those boots, and I've only got 5 minutes to get dressed, but they're dirty, I haven't cleaned them, it might take them out of the equation. Whereas if they're ready and able for you to wear, it's so much easier for you to achieve that look that you want. You know, and curate a collection of pocket squares, of signature socks, things like that, so that you've got that clothing choice. It makes it all that much easier for you to acquire and maintain these fantastic dressing habits, which will weaponize your ability to use style to positive effect. Tip for number 5 for me is concentrate on the fit of your clothing rather than the cost. Now, how many times, and we've all done it, there's no embarrassment here, you've gone into a store, they're having a sale, there's an item on sale which was reduced by 75%. You would never have bought that item, it might not be the perfect fit, but you've bought it because it was 75% off, not because it's the best piece of clothing for you. And what happens? Your cheap piece of clothing stays in the back of the wardrobe in perpetuity, never to be worn, and what you've done is bought something that you're never going to wear. So focus on the fit rather than the cost. Now, there is a bit of a caveat to that, because you can get things tailored. So if you're going to buy something which can be tailored, like a jacket or a pair of trousers particularly, the way you can have the sleeves reduced in length, or the trousers, something like that, then being strategic about it, you can buy a pair of trousers that are too long, because you know for a very modest price you can have it tailored to fit you. That's where buying clothes in a sale can be to a positive benefit. But just remember, an expensive suit that is ill-fitting will always look like a crap suit. A cheap suit which fits you well will look good opposed to that expensive one. It's a false economy to buy cheap things just because they're cheap. Just remember that. And finally, my last tip, and possibly quite important, maybe the most important, when you've decided to dress stylishly and look the part, own it. Own that decision. Grab hold of your stylishness and don't be afraid to be the best dressed man in the room. Once you've decided to raise your standards, commit to it. Don't let other people drive down your standards because they choose not to be as stylish as you. The analogy that I often use, imagine you work in a large open plan office. You've got a meeting. You're going to meet 5 or 6 people at the other side of the open plan office, and you look over and you can see that they're all informally dressed. They're wearing open collared shirts, slacks, short sleeve shirts, basically looking very casual. On the other hand, you're a gentleman who uses style to your advantage, and you're wearing a suit, a collar and a tie. You look over at the people you're going to meet and you think to yourself, oh dear, if I go over there, I am going to stand out like a sore thumb because I'm wearing a tie and I'm wearing a suit. I know what I'll do. I'll nip into the toilets, I'll take off my tie and I'll dress myself down. And that, chaps, is exactly the wrong thing to do. What you should do is have the confidence to go over there as the most stylishly dressed man in that group and raise their standards, because they're going to look round and say, oh God, look out, here's Smith from accounting, he's raising the standards again, I'm going to have to start wearing a tie. You drive the standards up, do not let other people drive your standards down. When you are stylish, when you are a chap, own it, commit to it and hammer it home, because it'll work out for you. You know the law of reciprocity. When you do something good will come back to you. It's a bit like that when it comes to style. If you dress stylishly, good things will happen. Well, at least we can hope so anyway. Well, I hope these tips have been useful for you today. They're not intended to be tongue-in-cheek. This is the way I lead my life. And if you agree with me, please leave a comment in the comments below. I'd love to hear your views. Similarly, if you want to support the channel, click the like button. Don't forget to subscribe, because you won't miss anything that comes along in the future. So thanks for listening today, and I look forward to seeing you again very soon at the Chap's Guide.